Welcome back to the TikTok show. I am your host, Ryan Heelan, and today I am joined by a very special guest. I'm sure you've seen his videos all over the For You page. He's funny, he's creative, and he has over 1.6 million followers on TikTok. Please welcome to the show, Andrew Licout. Thank you for being here, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going?
So the first question, and I'm always interested in asking creators this, is when did you start creating? Because TikTok is like such a new thing that people like my age were like, I'm never getting on TikTok. But how did you end up creating videos on TikTok?
Yeah, probably it's I feel like all of us have a pretty similar story. None of us were like super early to it.
Right.
It was definitely started around the pandemic, when TikTok was really taking off.
Hmm.
Um, a friend of mine actually wanted to make a video but didn't want to post it on their page. And so they were like, can you make a TikTok and post it on your page? And I was like, sure. Like, I don't know anybody on this app. I don't know.
You were the guinea pig of your friend group.
Yeah, I was the guinea pig. So from there, you just start scrolling, you start like looking at what it actually is. And then, no, and then I just started having ideas and I was like, it can't hurt to like
Right.
throw a video up here and there. And it definitely wasn't, I definitely didn't have like a takeoff story. Like a lot of people, they're like, yeah, one of my first videos went viral. Like I was
Mhm.
just very slow with it. And then it kind of slowly grew for like a year up until this past maybe April when things started really taking off a little bit more.
Right. That's awesome. And have you always been somebody who was like creating videos? Like when you were young, were you always into being creative and making videos, or is this something you kind of stumbled upon during the pandemic, like a new hobby?
Yeah, no. So I mean I did theater in high school. So that was kind of like the start of just working creatively, I guess. But
Mhm.
I actually went to school like on the other side of things. I studied design for theater. So I worked backstage. I worked, I'm very much on the other side of things on the production side of things.
Right.
But all in all, like I always had a passion for storytelling and for trying to make people laugh or, just having a creative outlet. So I found that TikTok just happened to be that creative outlet that I didn't have before. In part because it was something new. Like I had never created videos before. So I was like, oh, this
Right.
this could be a fun thing to learn. And also it was such an expansive platform where when we all got on, usually you don't know anybody. It's
Yeah.
not like you're posting for your friend. So there's like a little bit of freedom in that
Absolutely. Yeah.
where you're just like, all right, I'm throwing this video out there, whoever sees it, sees it.
Right.
Uh,
It gives you this really cool like ability to find your own like fan base too, and like your niche of people who kind of enjoy the same things you enjoy and stuff like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that kind of got the ball rolling there. So
Well, it's interesting you say you were in theater, like because your videos, they almost have like a cinematic piece to them that you don't see on like a lot of TikTok is dancing and skits and all that, but you put, I'm guessing, a lot of thought and time into your videos because they seem so thought out and planned, and they have like elements of cinema in them. Is that true?
yeah, so that's my favorite part of
Right.
creating on TikTok is, if I could have someone stand in for me on camera, I would love that, But like really like every video is a process and most of
Mhm.
the work happens before the video even starts filming.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of uh, definitely creating like a shot list and trying to figure out new and interesting ways to tell this story and whether no matter how silly or serious it is,
Mhm.
I think there's always an interesting way to tell a story. And that's really part of I've found what keeps people engaged is there's one joke. If there's one joke, there's 100 different ways to tell it, you
Right.
know? So how can you find the most interesting ways to keep people engaged and have them look at it in a different way? So for me, the cinematic aspect of it is something that I really enjoy. I've done photography for a long time, so I tried to carry that over into my videos to kind of create maybe a different element that people aren't seeing
Right.
much
No,
of
that makes sense. Yeah.
that I also enjoy. So yeah, it's
Right.
definitely intentional for sure.
Do you ever think that, the stuff you used or learned in college would be transitioning and you would be using on social media? Like, was social media ever the goal for you?
No, and it's funny because I just went back to my alma mater last week to do like an alumni talk back, and
Right.
we talked about this a little bit because it's hard to find that like direct route from what I studied to content.
Absolutely.
But what I always say is that it really does boil down to storytelling, and it boils down to just wanting to have a creative outlet. So yeah, there's definitely, in that environment in school really fostered that passion for storytelling. And
Right.
now I think I've just figured out another way to do
To
it.
do that.
Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
so there's absolutely a connection there for sure. Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, growing, like you said, you love storytelling. Growing up, like who were some of your favorite authors or maybe like films or directors? Anybody inspire you to kind of take the route you took?
Yeah. I was a big fan. My first like favorite show was The Fresh Prince. I love
Oh
Fresh
yeah.
Prince just because Fresh Prince did such a good job of balancing emotion and comedy,
Hmm.
where they set up these poignant moments, even for like a sitcom in the 90s. It felt like it was very ahead of its time.
Right.
Uh, as far as more artistic, I fell into like the Wes Andersons. I felt,
Hmm.
in that sort of in a big influence of mine was my roommate in college. He was a cinematographer, he was a photographer. And so seeing the way that he looked at images through a lens and the way he was able to compose things was inspiring. Um, but I think just really starting to look at the details of films and photography really started to inform, okay, every single frame is a picture, every single
Right.
frame is a moment. And so to be able to break it down like that, and I think being in that environment in school and being seeing films every single week sort of
Hmm.
really lended the information towards that for sure.
Right. Now, I have to ask you, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but TikTok is all about, very quick, like videos, all about getting the attention of the viewer. Is it difficult for somebody who studies film and theater and, movies are long? Is it hard to kind of bring that element to TikTok, the element of like, I have to be quick, but I want this to be something that the audience can be engaged in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's something because when I started really gaining a bigger following, all of the videos I were doing were I think at TikTok you can do 3 minutes now, but at the time it was just a minute. And I
Right.
was using that full minute every single time. And I remember at the time, all the like TikTok advice accounts were like, keep your
Yeah.
videos 8 to 15 seconds. And I
Right.
just couldn't do that because the way I wanted to tell the story, it took time. So I sort of looked at it as, okay, I'm going to use the full minute, but I'm going to break that minute down into
That's smart.
five to 7 seconds. Like my rule was at least every 5 seconds, something interesting has to happen. There has to be an interesting angle. There has to be an interesting lighting moment. There has to be a
Right.
mini joke within the overall joke it's almost like you set up these little checkpoints for your audience.
Hmm.
And so it every 5 seconds, it recaptures them to help them stay for the whole thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
That's
and I've
super interesting.
I've kind of stuck with that long form video, just because it's just what I like to make.
Right.
Um, so yeah, there is a challenge in that. I haven't ventured into the 3 minute videos yet, fully, but I think that's an opportunity to even take that further for sure.
Right. Now, how do you plan on using social media in like what is your end goal? Do you want to use social media or do you want to kind of keep your career and social media separate or do you want to bring them together and say social media has given me the chance to do this with my career? What do you plan on doing in the next couple years?
Yeah, I think what I've learned over the past few months is a big part of all this is, taking opportunities as they come. And
Hmm.
and I find it very hard to set really, concrete goals because this industry is changing, every single
Yeah.
day.
Absolutely.
Um, what I found is that they do lend themselves to one another. Like the design world, the entertainment world, and I think it's a really interesting opportunity to cross those.
Hmm.
Whether that be through brand partnerships or whatever, like you get to work with design brands that maybe you didn't think you'd have a chance to work with before, or even just other creators in that industry.
Right.
So TikTok is really great in the sense that it has kind of reach in every single industry in every
Yeah,
single part of
absolutely.
the world, which I think is key to its longevity.
Hmm.
But I do definitely want to use this platform or use this momentum to try to extend and try to grow in those areas as well.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because, people started saying, is the goal to get on social media or is the goal to start on social media and then get off of it? But we're seeing big actors like Will Smith and singers and people are coming onto TikTok. So now I think you said it perfectly. There is a space where it can just kind of coexist in entertainment, which is I think is a really good point. Now, has there been a moment for you through all this craziness of growing this huge following where you went, is this real? Like, were you ever surprised at your success, or were you kind of like, in a very humble way, I kind of saw this coming?
No, I'm surprised. I'm surprised at it every day. Like, yeah, one is growing up, you're looking at social media, you're looking at the personalities on social media, and they're usually bigger personalities.
Right.
Usually, there's some there, and I've just never been that way. I've always been pretty reserved, pretty quiet. I just
Hmm.
enjoy, I enjoy storytelling, but I don't enjoy like I don't have that big personality. So I never thought that it would get anywhere because
Right.
I thought that you had to be a certain way to succeed on social media or to succeed on a platform. Um, so yeah, every day it's surprising, and every day it's really cool to see people enjoy what you put out.
Hmm.
Um, so it is kind of surreal. You look at it and you watch your page grow and you watch people respond to what you're putting out.
Right.
Uh, and yeah, you don't really get used to it, I think. Um, at no point did I ever think that like I deserved it or that it was
Right.
going to happen or that, I was just like, oh, this is kind of like a lucky
Yeah,
something that's kind
exactly.
of fallen into my lap, and whatever, I'll run with it while I can.
Right.
Um, so it's been pretty fortunate, I would say.
That's awesome. Now, I watched your videos and I scrolled through a lot of the comments, and it seems like you are pretty wanted among the women. Does that ever get, you said you don't like being in front of the camera. Does that ever get uncomfortable? Do you take it as a compliment, or is it just something you don't pay much mind to?
Um, it's that's fun. A lot of my friends, they're like, dude, I don't even watch your videos. I just go straight
Right.
to your comments. No, I don't. Um, it's flattering, I'll say. It is
Right.
flattering. But I don't pay it much mind. But it's definitely different,
Yeah, for sure.
because you all of a sudden you have all of this maybe attention that you didn't have
Hmm.
before. But it's very nice. Like I tell my friends I'm like one of the like lucky people online where it's like 99% of my comments are positive.
Right.
I'm lucky to where I don't get a lot of hate comments. So I'm just happy that I don't get that,
Right. The mean ones.
uh, you know,
Yeah.
it's so, yeah, I mean, I think it comes with, having a platform, but
Hmm.
uh, it's definitely, uh, I mean, yeah, it's a confidence booster for
Right.
sure. But yeah, I don't look too much into it.
Right.
I'm gonna get
Now,
old. I'm gonna get old one day, and that'll all go away.
oh, I know. Trust me. And then you'll just be begging for one compliment like that. Now you're somebody, you're very smart, and you've studied this, and you're putting together the things you've learned, and you're continuing to learn. So do you have any advice for people who might want to create content or go a similar route you've gone? What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's interested in creating content?
Um, One, as a general piece of advice, just make sure you're enjoying what you're making,
Hmm.
because especially if you're trying to form a niche out of it, because you're gonna fall into that niche, and that's what people are gonna want from you. So you have to
Right.
be okay with creating that type of video every week
Over
or
and over. Yeah.
over. Um, with that, a more concrete piece of advice is I always say, like, one, there are three, I think there are three avenues of creator. You have entertainers, you have influencers, and you have teachers, right?
Mhm.
Those are pretty much the canon of creators that you have. So, and not to say that you can't be all three of those, you know.
Right.
But I will say that you either have to do something that nobody else is doing, or you have to do something better than everyone else,
Right.
or at least different.
Mhm.
So it's hard because if you didn't get on the app at the beginning and you're getting on it now, it's kind of harder because there are so many creators
Yeah,
out
you're
there
kind of already
and
behind a little.
every idea has been tapped.
Mhm.
So as long as you get on there and figure out how to do something in your own way that also you genuinely love making, I think that's the most important part, is people know when you like what you're making or not.
Right. They can
That's why,
tell.
like,
Yeah.
I'll never I'll never post a video. I usually won't post a video the same day I make it, because I'll make the video, I'll wait 24 hours to see if I still like it the next day.
Mm.
And if I do, then I post it. And if I
Right.
don't, then it just gets deleted, because I'm my first audience member, you know? And so if I don't like it, I don't think that other people will.
Right.
So I think just staying, you know, keeping the quality up and making sure that you're enjoying what you're putting out
Right.
is my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, that is super important. Well, Andrew, you are a very smart man. I think you should write a book, and I would absolutely buy it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please go follow Andrew on TikTok and on Instagram. He has such creative content. You'll never be bored. And like I said, he's a very smart and inspirational man. Andrew, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.